than usual, internet. An hour later. That's what's happening. Here we are. All right. We're just going to jump into it right away. Good to see everybody. I hope everyone can make it. Despite the, we are an hour later than usual. That's just for today only. Good morning, Karen. Thank you for being here an hour later than usual. And by the way, this is just for today. I was doing the damage report over at TYT, so we had to start late today. Yeah. All right. We got a lot to talk about. So we are going to get right into it. Hello, Dan. Hello, Jesus. Hello, Karen. Hello, Jordan. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. Sorry we are late. Had to start late today. Made the announcement. We're doing a different time today, but that's just for today. Tomorrow we'll be back at our normal time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. We're doing it an hour late today, which brings me to my song of the day. The song of the day today, which Happy Music Monday, by the way, is The 11th Hour by Rancid for a couple reasons. First of all, it's a great tune. That's one reason. 11th Hour by Rancid, one of my favorite songs. Another reason, that's technically what's going on here. We're doing this at the 11th hour, right? Like that's what we're doing. It's the 11th hour because we usually do this an hour beforehand. Not only is it the 11th hour in the phrasing of it all, right? The concept of the 11th hour, but it's also literally, in my case, the 11th hour because it's 11 a.m. where I am. Well, a little after 11 a.m., but you get the point. So for those reasons, 11th hour, song of the day, classic punk rock, Clash-esque 77 style pop song. Beautiful. One of my favorite actually maybe my favorite Rancid song. I'm a big Rancid fan. Check it out, The 11th Hour by Rancid. If you're not familiar with Rancid, it's a great first intro. If you are familiar with Rancid, it's always great for a revisit. So that's the song of the day for a number of reasons. The 11th Hour by Rancid. All right, let's go to our first story of the day here, which is not a very welcome first story, but here we go. Gilroy Garlic Festival shooting, which I've driven through Gilroy on many of occasions. Well, here, let's watch some of the video here. There was a shooting at the Gilroy Garlic Festival. For anyone not to know, Gilroy is a town in California where pretty much like garlic is their main thing. Like that's kind of like what they do there. Like garlic, like when you drive into Gilroy, you smell the garlic. I've driven through it a couple times. I've never stopped there. I've always meant to because you can buy garlic on like the side of the road and stuff like that. And it's the garlic capital. I love garlic. I'm an Italian American. I love my garlic. And I've always wanted to stop there and get some garlic. But I've always had a long drive ahead of me whenever I'd be passing through there. It's a, usually I'd either be leaving or heading back to Los Angeles where I live. So I'd either be heading up to San Francisco or somewhere similar or going back to Los Angeles. So I always had a bit of a drive ahead of me. And I didn't really want to spend that drive with a bunch of garlic in the car. So I never got to pick anything up. But here's some very bad news out of Gilroy.
At the Garlic Festival yesterday. I'm so sorry you had to go through that yesterday. Thank you for joining us this morning. And Candice, let me begin with you. You never expect something like this at this festival. When was the first moment you knew something was wrong?
As soon as we got out of the porta potties, we heard a pop, and right away they said firecrackers, and we turned to our left, and there was a gunman. His gun was pointed to the ground. He was trying to put another clip in it, and then he started walking away toward left away from us and just started shooting, and we ran the other direction.
Did you see?
And it was so scary.
Go ahead. Did you see anybody else with him, that possible second suspect?
No, we only seen the one.
And Cheryl, I know your boss and her husband both got shot in their tent. Do you have any more information on how they're doing?
The last update I got is her husband's in critical condition and she's in stable condition right now. That's all I got. They just got out of surgery at midnight. and they were in surgery most of the evening. But one's in stable and one's in critical condition. It's touch and go right now,
Oh
basically.
my goodness. So sorry for that. Set the scene of what was going on inside that tent. I guess.
So there you have it, and there is some footage from it. We have yet again another shooting that has taken place. And let me fill you in on what's going to happen next. Now, first of all, some of the statistics here. It looks like there are 3 people dead that have been confirmed so far. And I believe there was a second suspect here. Let me try to get back to the article here. I accidentally closed out of the tab. So they have the suspected gunman. At least 3 people were killed and more than a dozen were injured. That's what we know so far. And here's what's going to happen next. People are going to talk about it. There's a couple politicians and elected officials that are going to say we're demanding gun control now. There's other politicians and elected officials that are going to, utter some cliche about the Second Amendment and utter some other cliche about guns aren't the problem, Nothing's going to happen policy-wise. Absolutely nothing is going to happen. And we'll rinse and repeat this the next time there's a shooting. A little bit of time will go by. Folks will forget about the last shooting. And then we're on to the next one, because at this point, we just accept this as normal. This is just commonplace. And it's like the Onion headline. There's literally a headline in the Onion, and every time another shooting happens, which is constant, the Onion retweets this same article, and the headline is, "There's no way we can prevent this from happening," says country that is the only country where stuff like this happens. I'm paraphrasing the headline. It's a little more, it's a little less choppy than what I just paraphrased, but you get the idea. We don't know how to prevent this, even though we're the only place where stuff like this happens. We're the only place where this amount of mass shootings goes on. How can we stop it? We can't possibly have any type of common sense weapons policy. We can't possibly have a buyback or a registration similar to a car, or regulation on ammo, protections on the amount of guns that can be kept in a home. We can't possibly do anything like that. We can't possibly. Other countries have figured out we can't do that here. I have no confidence in the world, none, zero, that I will ever see any type of gun policy in my lifetime. I don't think I will. I sincerely hope I'm wrong. I've never wanted to be wrong about anything more in my life. And there's so many things we could do. I've talked about what different plans that are out there in different videos. I laid out a plan, what I would do. I would have extensive background checks. I would have references be required. I would have classes be required. I would have limitations on how much ammo one can have, limitations on what type of guns could be kept in a house versus what type of guns need to be kept at a range. There's so many things where we can do, where if you're using a gun to hunt for your food, you can still do that. If you live in a remote area and you want to have something just in case, you can still do that. But there are a lot of protections for everybody else, so that guns don't fall into the wrong hands. There's so many things we can do, similar to what Australia has done, similar to what Japan has done, similar to what Switzerland does. We can borrow a little bit from each model. We can have registration similar to a car. And if you're a gun owner out there and you're saying, gee, this sounds pretty extensive. Yeah, it is. But isn't that worth it to live in a much safer society? To live in a society where you don't have to worry about your kids getting shot when they go to school? To live in a society where shootings like this aren't commonplace? Where we don't just accept it as normal? Isn't it worth going through the class, going through the registration? Isn't that worth it for the greater good? I think so. But, and if you're listening to what I'm saying and you're like, gee, I'm against everything you just said, you don't need to worry, because it's probably never going to happen in this country. Probably not. I sincerely hope I'm wrong. I sincerely hope I'm wrong, but I doubt it. I doubt I'm going to be wrong on this one. And I really want to be. I really, really want to be. It's not often I say I want to be wrong. That's not something people commonly say. But man, I really hope I'm wrong on this one. I really, really do. So here's an interesting headline. Tim shared this with us. Now, this is an article from TruthDig, and the headline is, "We could solve the Israel-Palestine conflict tomorrow." That'd be incredible, wouldn't it? Could you imagine that? I mean, imagine we woke up tomorrow and first of all, the gun issue is solved in the United States. There's actually common sense weapons policy in the United States. Then we wake up and the Israel-Palestine conflict is solved. That'd be incredible. What a better world we would all live in if that was the case. So curious what's going on in this article. Let's see. Oops, sorry about that. I went over myself, but I forgot to take you guys over. I started going over myself and I forgot. I was like, oh, wait, no, you still see my dumb face. You don't see the article. There we go. See, starting an hour later, man, it throws off everything. All right. Go away, ad. All right. We could solve the Israel-Palestine conflict tomorrow. And this is by Robert Shearer, who's the editor-in-chief of TruthDig. So first of all, they mentioned the film Gaza Fights for Freedom, a documentary by Abby Martin and Mike Preisner. Big fan of both of them, big fan of Abby, big fan of Mike. I've not seen their film yet, but I really, really want to see it. So here's what Abby Martin told Shearer. Bernie Sanders has the best position on Palestine. And he actually shares the position that Hamas does, withdraw the settlements to the 1967 borders. And their new charter actually unequivocally denounces anti-Semitism and makes it very clear that the fight is against political Zionism. This is a shared sentiment from progressive Jewish organizations worldwide. So people might be surprised to learn that peace could actually happen tomorrow if Bernie Sanders and Hamas get together and they both agree on this notion. Wow. So that's what Abby Martin says. She's been there. She's done a film on it. And she's saying, look, if Bernie Sanders and Hamas get together and they agree on this resolution, we could solve the conflict tomorrow. If they agree on this notion, we could solve this conflict tomorrow. And I'm sure it'd be a little more complicated. I mean, obviously, she's kind of giving a quick summary of this is how it would work. But wouldn't that be incredible? I mean, it's one of those things. It's well, Ron, that'll never happen. Well, it could. It totally could. We can totally. I mean, it's really easy to write something off as like, oh, well, that can't happen. No, it totally could. We could. Something like this could happen. You know, there were people saying, we're never going to go to the moon. We're never going to do this. We're never going to do that. There were people saying, we're never going to not be on horseback. So it's like, yeah, we could have these things. Unfortunately, because of very powerful entities, we don't. When it comes to gun policy, when it comes to a resolution between Israel and Palestine. But we certainly could. And there's a perspective out there from Abby Martin, who has done a film on this very topic, that this is how we can have it tomorrow. Bernie Sanders and Hamas getting together, agreeing on this notion. Interesting. All right. So, since we're traveling around the world a little bit, Christina shares this. I thought this was kind of fascinating. Now, I didn't get to read this at all yet, so I don't know why this is the case, but French winemakers are having a bad summer. Why are they having a bad summer? I don't know yet. Let's find out. Why French winemakers are having the worst summer ever. The French wine industry on Monday weighed into an escalating spat between the Trump administration and Paris over France's proposed new tax on technology companies, saying, leave us out of it, s'il vous plaît. Okay. All right. France's 13.2 billion euro wine sector, a perennial global top 3 market, was caught off guard late last week when President Trump tweeted that he was considering a substantial retaliation against the country for imposing a new tax on tech companies. The levy is known locally as GAFA, an acronym for the biggest of the companies expected to be impacted by the new measure: Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple. You know, all the good guys. All those good companies that never do anything bad. Trump took to Twitter to voice his displeasure about the tax, saying, "France just put a digital tax on our great American technology companies. If anybody taxes them, it should be their home country, the USA. We will announce a substantial reciprocal action on Macron's foolishness shortly. I've always said American wine is better than French wine." So he's taking away your French wine now. Donald Trump. That's who Donald Trump plays the violin for. Amazon, Facebook, the companies that are selling your faces, selling your information, getting F ratings on the environment, exploiting cities to extract billions of dollars worth of infrastructure information when they don't plan on actually going there, like what Jeff Bezos and Amazon did. That's who Trump defends. And then he punishes France for it. This is, I mean, right there, Trump just showed you once again his priorities and this administration's priority, and it's not Trump working alone. This is the priority of the GOP and the money party, which is Democrats and Republicans working together to appease the 1%. And now they're just hurting winemakers in France. Priorities. Priorities. Weapons policy, we ain't going to see it. Gun policy, we ain't going to see it. But oh man, Amazon, Google, Facebook, they got an issue. Where do they have the issue? We're doing something about it. That's your government working for you, the people. All right. So thank you for sharing that, Christina. Now, here's something. I wanted to talk about this when it first hit the news, but I was traveling. It was after our Thursday show, and then I traveled some this weekend. By the way, shout out to everyone in Vegas who came out to our show on Saturday. We had so much fun with you over at the Progressive Comedy Tour. A lot of fun in Vegas. First city that we hit for the second time. So thank you for that. But check out this news from CNN. CNN will host a climate crisis town hall with 2020 Democratic candidates. So keep in mind, Tom Perez said that they weren't going to do any topic-oriented debates. He's like, look, we got to lead with our values, and our values include not actually talking about specifics when it comes to policy or topics. Those are one of Tom Perez's values, so he doesn't want to do that. So they said they would have no topic-specific debates, but it looks like that's changing. CNN says they're going to host a climate crisis town hall with 2020 Democratic candidates. CNN will host a Democratic presidential town hall in September focused on the climate crisis. The event will take place on Wednesday, September 4th in New York City. CNN is inviting candidates who meet the DNC's polling threshold for the September primary debate to participate, meaning they've reached at least 2% in 4 approved polls. Oh, underline that approved poll part, by the way. Has to be approved. Who's it have to be approved by? The corporate media. So when it's their polls that show Joe Biden winning because they only polled landlines, those are the types of polls. And if there's other polls that are out there, they'll just discount those. And if there's somebody that might get on that debate stage they don't want on that debate stage, they'll change the rules. That's what they'll do. So let's see who's making it so far. 8 candidates so far have met the threshold. Joe Biden, so you can count on him to talk about nothing when it comes to climate change. Cory Booker, Pete Buttigieg. Stop saying his name like that, Pete Buttigieg. You don't say his name right. You don't say his name right. I can't take you seriously. Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, Beto O'Rourke, stand on something, stand for nothing. Bernie Sanders, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. All right, so Biden, Booker, Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, Beto O'Rourke. You can count on them to talk about absolutely nothing when it comes to climate change, except for how we need an incremental approach. By the way, we could have been acting on climate change for the past 30 years. We could have started in the 80s we'd have an extensive rail in this country at this point. We'd be off of fossil fuels. We were trying to get off fossil fuels by the year 2000, by the way. By the year 2000, we wanted to be off fossil fuels. That's what we were talking about originally. Obviously, we didn't meet that goal, nowhere close. But still, you're going to get candidates on the Democratic side that are saying we need a soft, incremental approach to climate change. And, of course, the opposition, the GOP, we don't need to do anything. So you're going to have a bunch of people up there talking about nothing. Bernie Sanders will actually be talking about solutions. Elizabeth Warren will probably parrot some of what Bernie says and try to make it seem like she came up with it. So, oh, and by the way, CNN, every third commercial is oil and gas. So do you think you're going to get an honest representation? Do you think they're going to get fair questions on climate change? They're going to have gotcha moments for Bernie because he actually plans on doing something about it, and softballs for everyone else. And they're going to try to, push the agenda of all of the above, which is code for drill, baby, drill. So at least the topic debate is happening, but I don't know how optimistic I am about the substance of it. Which, since we're on the topic of CNN, let's go ahead and stay there. So over the weekend, Brian Stelter responded to a fellow named Jim Earl on Twitter. Now, some of you may recognize Jim Earl's name. He is a writer for the Jimmy Dore Show, just like myself. So I'll give a full disclaimer there. Obviously, I'm partial to Jim on this one. He's a colleague of mine and a friend. But here's what happened over on Twitter, and Brian Stelter actually responded to him. I thought this would be interesting to talk about. All right. So Jim Earl, Sanders campaign manager. So what happened? He retweeted Brian Stelter. Brian Stelter says, more of my conversation with Bernie Sanders campaign manager in just a moment. Jim retweets that. He goes, Sanders campaign manager makes the obvious observation that CNN and MSNBC are paid by the pharmaceutical and bank industries. Brian Stelter responds he doesn't know what ads run during his show. Then cuts to 2 ads for pills and Discover Card. And then he says to Brian, you're either a liar or incompetent. Brian responds to him, maybe I'm incompetent, but I don't know what ads run during the show. I don't see them. Other anchors of other shows don't see them either. I see a black screen during commercial breaks. And now some people are kind of getting on Jim's case here. They're kind of tone policing Jim. And where's I actually responded to this too. And full disclaimer, I made a spelling error. Let's see if I don't see mine. Okay. Well, I responded to this as well, and I actually made a spelling error. And what I said was, I was like, you're not incompetent, Brian. You're doing what your employer wants you to do, which is, which is kind of pretending like you don't really know the issue of the corporate media and kind of wearing a blindfold when it comes to it. Keep in mind, Brian Stelter was on a panel, and I believe it was Phil Donahue, called him out on how the media loves Trump because Trump's good for ratings. Brian Stelter responded that the media, the for-profit corporate media, doesn't care about ratings. And everybody laughed in his face, which is what you should do when Brian Stelter refers to himself as a media watchdog. You should laugh in his face because that's a joke. Now, some folks in this Twitter thread, because keep in mind, Brian Stelter has about 600,000 followers on Twitter, I believe, about 600,000 followers. Jim has about 5,000. So, when Brian Stelter weighed in on there, he got some support, obviously. And it was mostly people just tone policing Jim. So you want to tone police Jim? Okay, if that's what you want to focus on, that's on you. But let's look at the substance here of what he talked about. So basically, Brian Stelter claims he doesn't know what ads run during his show. And then you hear ads for pills, which is Big Pharma, and Discover Card, which, by the way, pharmaceutical and bank industries, right? So Sanders' campaign manager was right. Brian Stelter was playing dumb. Now, here's Brian Stelter. He's saying, I don't know what ads run during the show. I don't see them. So his response is, we don't actually see the ads. We just see a black screen. I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's the case. But here's the thing. Brian Stelter runs a show called Reliable Sources. Reliable Sources is a media watchdog show. Brian Stelter is supposed to be. He's not. I mean, the idea of it is comical, but Brian Stelter is supposed to be a media watchdog. So here you have a supposed media watchdog on Twitter openly admitting they don't know information that should be required information 101 to do their job. I'm a media watchdog. Okay, here's the media outlet who is your employer. Should you maybe know who funds them? No, that's not necessary. It isn't. It's not necessary to know who is advertising and thus funding a media outlet you're supposed to hold accountable. Are you serious? Especially when it's a for-profit entity that is focused on pleasing advertisers above all else, which the corporate media, that is the business model they follow by their own admission. Jeff Zucker of CNN admits we want to make our advertisers and our shareholders happy. That's our first priority. Did he say that verbatim in those words? No. But he has made it very clear. You can find snippets of him. That's his priority. That's why he took money out of journalism, invested it into more talk shows, just straight up talk shows, because he says that's what the advertisers and shareholders want. And you're Brian Stelter, and you're supposed to hold this organization accountable, make sure they're committed to news and information. And you don't need to know who these advertisers are. You don't need to know who these special interests are. You don't need to know. It's not necessary information to know that oil and gas advertises on cable news. Why do they advertise on cable news? Do you think people know if they don't put gas in their car, it doesn't go vroom? People know that. Gasoline doesn't need to get the word out. People know. People know they need it. People are buying it. So what are they buying? They're buying favorable coverage. They're buying that when earthquakes are caused by fracking, the corporate media is not going to talk about it. They're buying that when there's climate change protests all over the world, the media is going to trivialize it. They're buying that when there's another spill, they downplay it. That's what they're buying. They're buying that you're not going to see constant coverage of what's going on in Flint, Michigan, or other cities in the U.S., and there are others too that are having similar water crises. Flint still doesn't have clean water. That should be a headline every single day, every single hour on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. It's not. Why? Because oil and gas advertises with these institutions that aren't committed to news at all. Jim Earle is pointing out that Brian's either lying that he's not aware of this stuff, or he's completely incompetent. Why? Because it's his job to know this stuff. It's his job to know. If somebody told me Chuck Todd has no idea who the advertisers on MSNBC are, I would believe that. Just because I do think Chuck Todd is that clueless. And I mean, Chuck Todd is a C-level actor who plays a news reporter every night. And I say C-level actor because, honestly, I'm not convinced he's very good at playing a news reporter. I'm not convinced he knows anything about news. A good actor would convince me otherwise, that they're a great news reporter. Chuck Todd's an actor. Brian Stelter is supposed to be a media watchdog. That's his job that he gets paid handsomely to do. And he's openly admitting in a public forum on Twitter, here, let's read the tweet one more time. Maybe I'm incompetent, but I don't know what ads run during the show. I don't see them either. Other anchors of other shows don't see them either. I see a black screen during the commercial breaks. So you don't know who the advertisers are on CNN, the institution you're supposed to hold accountable. Hey, I'm a media watchdog. Should I know? No, you don't need to know. And people in this thread are busy tone policing Jim because he used the word liar. Instead of, hey, our media structure can't even happen in other countries. The media structure we have here in the United States, where it's just a corporate giveaway, no strings attached, can't even happen in other countries. It happens here. And Brian Stelter, one of the watchdogs, doesn't even know about it. He doesn't care. He doesn't know. He's like, oh, I just look at a black screen and I don't ask questions. Yes, that is Brian Stelter. If he was an actual media watchdog, he is incompetent. Yes. But as far as his employer is concerned, he's not incompetent. He's doing exactly what they want. They want someone who's complicit, who's not going to ask questions, and who's going to completely deflect when they're called out for something so obvious. I just see a black screen. I see no problem here. The corporate media doesn't care about ratings. That's what CNN wants in a media watchdog, and Brian Stelter, he does a great job at filling that role. He's the media watchdog CNN wants. He's not the media watchdog this country or any democratic experiment needs. He's a media watchdog the same way Barney Fife is a police officer. All right. So there you go. Jim Roll on Twitter. Speaking of Twitter moments, let's go to another segment of Dunking on Delaney, shall we? So John Delaney is still, I believe as of the recording of this, has not dropped out, even though Twitter thread after Twitter thread gets hijacked from him. And he is grossly unpopular. It's unbelievable. So here's another, for instance, of Dunking on Delaney. Dunking on Delaney, by the way, is the segment where I tweet at John Delaney and hijack his thread. And I'm not working alone, by the way. A ton of other people have done this. Tons of other people on Twitter. Content creators, just random folks who tweet a bunch, and a comedian who streams a show from his living room. All have hijacked threads from John Delaney, somebody running for president who has poured millions into their campaign, millions and millions and millions of dollars. And their ideas are so grossly unpopular that random people on Twitter just hijack their ratios. Millions of dollars. A lot of that money goes into their social media. You're running for president. You need to take social media seriously. All right, so let's see this one. Here's the newest edition. Boom, check it out. Here's John's tweet. It's time to restore a sense of common purpose and bring people together. Means nothing. We need leaders that want to heal divisions, not deepen them. Again, just platitude nothingness. Read my op-ed on CNN Opinion on why, man, there's CNN again, on why we need mandatory national service. There you go, John. That's a good thing. Mandatory national, yeah, that'll solve our issues. Again, that's a bad idea. It's an idea that neglects to solve a lot of our more pressing issues. And it's coming from a place of privilege and a place of blindness. So it's not surprising it's coming from a rich person like John Delaney, who's spending most of his time trying to make sure people can't get health care. Here's my response. A lot of people on Twitter have gathered for the common purpose of getting you to drop out. You're bringing people together, John. And then I use the popular hashtag #DropOutDelaney. Boom. Looks like I beat him once again. 259 to 58. You're not even in the game anymore, John. Beth has this to say. My cat already beat you. So that's a thing that Beth does. She does a tweet of her cat, and she says, my cat Oscar will get more likes and retweets than your cat. He is a cat. You are running for president. And she's right once again. The cat beat him 171 to 58. Let's see who else beat him. This person just did a screenshot of Google results. They're almost beating him. They're close, 58 to 50. They're almost beating him. Now they got 51. This person beat him. We already can't afford the medications we need to live, and you want to take away even more of our working hours. Boom. And then more here. His ratios are so terrible. It's unbelievable. This guy needs a friend. And I've said it before, you know, I'm saying again until it happens. This guy desperately needs a friend or a family member or just someone who loves him enough to say, you're embarrassing yourself. This is scary. Please stop. Please drop out. Delaney, drop out. And take Hickenlooper with you. Both need to drop out. All right. So here's a little bit of good news, and then I'm going to go to the chat. Or at least I think this is good news. So Edwin shares this as a Music Monday story. I'm thinking this is good news. I've only seen the headline thus far, though. Here we go. Woodstock 50 will be free if it happens. A rep for the venue says that festival organizers still have yet to present them with a lineup. So the 50th anniversary tribute concert to Woodstock will be free if it moves forward. Now, a rep for the festival said this in Washington, D.C. to the radio station WTOP. So if it's able to pull off this 3-day event, it's going to be free. Last week, representatives for the Meriwether, Post Pavilion in Columbia, Maryland, said that they were in touch with festival organizers about staging the event there after it struck out month after month in New York State. Nevertheless, Seth Hurwitz, the chairman of the company that operates the venue, still sounded doubtful, noting he had yet to see a proposed lineup. So I guess they haven't confirmed the location, and they certainly haven't confirmed the lineup. But if it happens, it's going to be Libero. That's kind of interesting marketing. Hey, good news. This is going to be free. The only entity that can get away with something like that is a well-known music festival with a long history, by the way, like Woodstock. If it was any, it's kind of funny to think about. If it was any other thing, that'd be like the worst marketing plan ever. Hey, I'm doing this thing. I'm putting on this show. What's the show? I don't know yet. Where's it going to happen? I don't know yet. What can you tell me about the show? Gonna be free. That's the worst press release I've ever heard. No. The show's going to happen. Not sure the lineup. Might be music. Might just be a play. I don't know. I'm sure it's music. But I don't know the lineup. It's going to be free, though. What do you think? Can I count you down as an RSVP? Can you RSVP on the Facebook event? My free event. It's free. What's it going to be? Don't know. Where is it going to be? The United States. I know that. Going to be in the U.S. What can you tell me about? Free. But Woodstock 50th anniversary, you can get away with that. You can get away with that if what you're promoting is Woodstock. You can say, hey, we don't know where Woodstock's going to be. We don't know who the lineup's going to be, but we know it's going to be free. That's just something other concerts cannot get away with. So we'll keep an eye on this. We'll see what's going on with Woodstock, and we'll keep a follow on that. Maybe it's going to be a killer lineup. Maybe it's going to be near all of us. Maybe we can all go. Who knows? Or maybe it's going to be terrible. I have no idea. But we'll find out. We'll keep an eye on this. But right now, all we know, it might happen. Oh, that's the other thing. It might not even happen. Hey, check out my event. It might not happen. I'm not sure yet. Oh, it might happen? Yeah, it might happen. What's the lineup? Don't know. Where's it going to happen? Don't know. Might not even happen. Okay, but it's going to be free. Okay. Yeah, email us when you got more info. Some of you guys are very correctly pointing out, well, if you have free beer and you have free food, that helps. Fair enough. I appreciate that. Free beer is always a good draw, says Hobo Roadie, excuse me. Good call. I agree with you. Laney Peterson, thank you, Ron, says Laney. Thank you, Laney, very much for the Super Chat contribution. And thank you to all of you for adjusting so quickly. I appreciate it. We are an hour late. And I tweeted this morning and I said, hey, I have some things going on this morning. We're going to tweet because I was going to just cancel the show. But I didn't want to cancel the show. I wanted to do a show today. There was stuff I really wanted to talk about. And fortunately, y'all adapted and we had a show. So I appreciate that very much. I said, hey, we're going to start an hour later, which led to our song of the day, 11th Hour by Rancid. And y'all went along with it. And I appreciated that. You still tweeted me articles. You still popped in. You still participated in the chat. And I appreciate that very much. So thank you guys. Thank you very much. Forever Conscious Research Channel. Love your work, Ron. Thanks for your contribution to the truth. I appreciate that forever. Thank you very much. Trying to be fine says the concert is free, but bottled water will be $100. Probably. Karen, my world revolves around you, Ron. That's very kind of you to say, Karen. Let's see. Daniel, I want lots of rock and lots of punk at Woodstock if it happens. I don't know if punk will be well represented at Woodstock. I kind of doubt it. But maybe. I don't know. What punk bands do you think would be there if they had? They would only have like pretty big level punk. Maybe Rancid, actually, to get back to the song of the day. I could see maybe Rancid, Social Distortion, a band like that as far as punk bands go. So, you know. And Tom says, last time I went to Warped Tour, it was $6 for a small bottle of water. I passed out in the less than Jake's circle pit. Ooh. Like, yikes. That ain't good. You know what's crazy? I don't remember how much Warped Tour was the last time I went. Or I don't remember how much water was. I think it was still like $20-some the last time I went, but this was years ago. It's over now. Is MXPX still around? Yes, they are, Tom. They actually did a version of the NoFX song Franco Un-American, to tell you the truth. Daniel's guessing Bad Religion. All right, I think that's a fair guess. Yeah, I'll take it. Don Hooligan says Fish endorses Bernie. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's cool if that's true. That's very cool. I would imagine Fish would endorse Bernie. I would imagine Fish would endorse Bernie because they're up in Burlington, Vermont. And yeah, I would just imagine, right? Fish is from Burlington, right? Pretty sure. So yes, they would. They would endorse. They would endorse Bernie. Yeah, and Don's confirming that they are from Burlington. I'd imagine they'll endorse Bernie. Yeah, and I guess they have already. I haven't seen that myself, but yeah. Ben and Jerry's endorses Bernie. I did hear that. That is something I heard. Guys, we are out of time. Tour dates, I got them. September 4th, Omaha, Nebraska. September 5th, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. September 6th, Madison, Wisconsin. September 7th, Minneapolis, Minnesota. September 8th, Iowa City, Iowa. November, Australia. Tickets for Adelaide available now. Boom. We'll have a formal announcement soon, but tickets for Adelaide are available now. We're coming to Australia in November. The date for that Adelaide show is November 15th. And we're coming to Australia. Progressive Comedy Tour is coming to Australia, and we're getting ready to announce 2020 dates soon. If you want to support this show on the sustainability end, please do become a patron. For a Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content, including my album, including insider tour info, including dialogues with my cat, Lucy, all kinds of cool stuff for Give What You Can level, and you help me expand this show. I want to do more streams. I want to tackle more topics. I want to have more guests. I do need your help to do that. So if you are so able, patreon.com/Ron Placone. And if not, I totally understand. Please like these videos, share, make sure you're subscribed. Click the bell, make sure you're subscribed. Play the videos in a separate window, let the ads play through, and don't just do that for me. Do that for all the content creators you know and love, because it helps sustain our channels. Ron, did you ever get into the Jam? I like the Jam. I'm not as fluent as I would like to be, but I do like the Jam, yes. Guys, you are awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be back to our normal time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. We did a weird thing just for today, but we will be back to our normal time tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Get Your News On with Ron. Thanks for all the awesome articles per usual. I will see y'all tomorrow. And until then, peace.